The L-sit is an incredible exercise that works your abs, your thighs, your arms, your shoulders, your back, and so much more. It's an exercise that I'm still trying to improve upon as I really wanted to learn how to transition it to a crow, to a handstand, like to a push press, all that kind of fun calisthenic yoga type stuff that just inspires the heck out of me and just challenges my functional strength, my ability, just allowing me to be as able-bodied as I possibly can while really having a lot of fun in the process here. So as I'm learning to improve upon this exercise, the L-sit here, there's been some important steps that have been really helpful for me. Some incredible drills that have really helped me progress this movement. So I'm going to share them here with you in this video as I'm getting in a good workout myself here. So the first thing is the lift off here that I think a lot of people just really struggle to even just get their butt up off the ground. I know even for myself personally, I thought, well, maybe my arms are short, but they're not too short. Part of it is just kind of having not only the arm strength, but the mobility in your shoulder blades and upper body strength as well. So an exercise that has really helped me improve upon that strength is the reverse shrug. So you can get yourself on some parallel bars, dip bars, and you allow your body weight till you drop down and then you press yourself up. So normally you're lifting the weight up when it comes to the shrug, but here you're pressing yourself up. So it's a different kind of movement. You want to make sure that your elbows are locked out so you're not engaging the triceps there. You're just trying to use your traps. So your upper back muscles are going to be doing a ton of the work there. So that really helped me kind of build that strength to push myself up and get myself up off the floor a little bit better, but also like the range of motion there, doing a traditional shrug where you're allowing yourself to hold that stretch position. So really stretching out the upper back, stretching out the trap muscles. So that was the first step, trying to get myself up there. Then I realized that in order to get the most lift up, you also have to kind of curl, like not curl the pelvis like you would a pelvic tilt. You're trying to lift the pelvis upwards. You can get a little bit of a posterior tilt where you're bringing it back a little bit, but really want to try to lift the pelvis. So the exercise that really helped me improve the strength in the lower abdominals there is like a gymnast ab exercise there, where you're kind of lifting, you're keeping your arms locked, so similar position as you're doing here on the L-sit, but you're just trying to lift the pelvis up. You're not trying to curl it like you would a reverse crunch or a knee raise or anything like that. You're just trying to lift that pelvis up. And then a corkscrew, which is another incredible exercise. So again, trying to keep the elbows pretty locked there. You're allowing your legs to go down, and then you just lift the pelvis up, you lift your hips up as you're twisting to the side. So it's a great oblique exercise, incredible, as well as strengthening the lower abdominals. So those are two important keys to getting your butt up off the ground, is building that strength and flexibility when it comes to the shrugs, as well as being able to lift the pelvis up as well. Now, the first thing I noticed when I first started attempting the L-sit here was my quads were cramping up. And yes, the quads are involved in this exercise here, but what you really want is the hip flexors. The hip flexors should be doing a lot of the work. So when part of it was like just focusing on that mind-muscle connection, learning to kind of relax the quads and allow myself to lift up from the hip flexors here. Now, there's certain exercises you can do to strengthen that. You can just do it right on the ground here in the seated position, just doing one leg at a time to try to build that strength and range of motion with your hip flexors. Do a few reps to one side, a few reps to the other. You can kind of lean forward and try to raise both legs up at the same time. You can do a psoas march using a resistance band. If you're in a gym and you have a hip flexion machine, I highly recommend that. Again, for myself personally, I like to go for like the higher reps, 12 to 15 repetitions with that machine, because it's going to build the strength, but also the muscular endurance in that muscle as well. Play around with the different rep ranges, see how you feel. But you want to make sure if it's too heavy, you're not going to be able to raise your knee up as high. And you really want to make sure you're working within that full range of motion. So trying to strengthen up the hip flexors has been absolutely key, in my opinion. So again, you can kind of push it. The next step would be to raise your upper body up, and now that you're up in this position, your hips up off the ground, now try to just raise one leg up. And then the other leg up. One leg up, and then the other leg up. So it's a lot of trying to work on the different strengths. So the strength in the upper body, the strength in the hip flexors, the strength in the abdominal muscles. Also gripping onto the floor has been a really, really big help. So not just pushing up with your hands flat, but try to flex the fingertips there and dig in hard. You can almost feel yourself lifting, and play around with where your hands are positioned, shifting your weight back a little bit, if that makes it easier, if it makes it harder. So playing around with the body position there. And then, God, it's a work in progress when it comes to lifting those legs up. So again, if you don't have the strength, work on a lot of those drills and those exercises to strengthen it up, but also have that mind-muscle connection, making sure that you're using the right muscles to lift that leg. So I'm not trying to flex the quadriceps too hard there. I'm trying to do a lot of the work with the actual hip flexor muscles up there. Now, you can also use some parallel bars, which can be, well, let's go on to another issue is the wrist as well. So again, strengthening your wrists can be great when it comes to doing like some wrist curls or wrist extensions and stuff like that, but also the wrist mobility. So I like to kind of get into like a tabletop position here, and then my fingers are pointing towards me, and I'm just trying to stretch them out. So I'm trying to get some mobility in the wrist joint, because that can be a limiting factor as well. It's toasty out here. I'm like sweating my butt off here. Get some good summer weather going on. So really trying to go rocking side to side, rocking back here to really get a good stretch in the wrist. And then I will go with one hand at a time where I'll flip the wrist over. So I can lean my weight, apply as much weight as I want onto that wrist there. And again, trying to reach back and then switch wrists. So working on your wrist mobility, but also like doing these drills, like the wrist compression drills are very helpful when it comes to that. And again, for the wrist compression and the core as well, a pendant is a great exercise too. So what I'm gonna do is just placing my hands outside my knees here, and then my feet, my tops of my toes are on the floor here, and I'm just gonna raise myself up and drag my toes, so my knees into my chest, and try to raise the toes off the ground. So now I've got some wrist compression. You can notice my weight's forward, but I'm also trying to curl that pelvis up. So the pendant is another great exercise to kind of incorporate not only the core strength there, but the wrist strength too. The other thing, of course, you got the little bars here that can be very helpful to kind of get you off the floor. So now you got some extra elevation, which is great. So now at least your butt's off the ground. And then from here, again, you can do one leg at a time and alternating back and forth. And then you want to get to the point where you're able to lift it off the ground and hold. So of course, like for myself personally, it's trying to get that clearance, because if I want to go from an L sit here and bring my legs through and get them up into a crow, I can't do it with my hands flat on the ground now. So I'm trying to really make sure that I'm learning these skills that are going to give me more clearance off the ground. Of course, when I'm using the parallel bars, that helps. So that can help me kind of tuck and get it through. And then from here, I can go crow. And then if I want to try to press up the handstand, I'm a little sweaty and slippery. I'll give myself a break here for a sec. And let's see if I can do that, getting myself up to a handstand. That's definitely the goal here, and just a smooth transition going from L-sit up to a handstand. But it's amazing, just a couple inches difference here off the ground allows me to tuck my knees in and draw them through. So then the goal is to try to do what I can to get that with my hands just on the floor there. So it's going to come from the range of motion, like being able to push myself up, but more than anything, tucking my pelvis up. All right, let's see what I got. So L sit, through to crow, Whoop, that didn't happen. Attempt number 2. Practice makes close to perfect. Oh, so that's the tough part. So working on those transitions, those will be kind of the stuff that I'll be sharing in my journey. I'm sweating buckets. That was a lot of work. Just sharing this journey, sharing this experience as I'm learning these skills to, again, become as functionally strong and athletic as I can be, in addition to my weight training in the gym. So it's a big reason why I cut back my weight training to 3 to 4 days per week. So I can work on these kind of skills that strengthens my muscles in different ways and strengthens my body in different ways. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun skills to learn that keeps this journey super exciting, super interesting. So if you have already kind of mastered these skills, I definitely look forward to hearing tips from you as well. Anything that will help me take things to the next level and just having fun in the process.